So this is a segue, Irvin, into a little bit about our Holocaust Center before we start our last a session with Betty Gerbinchikoff, Holocaust survivor. So some of you have written to us asking, well, tell me about your center, what's available, and here we go. So we have a very short presentation. So this is our main campus. So we are on the main campus in Galloway. We do have a campus in Atlantic City. So in fact, in Atlantic City, we have two buildings, one right on the boardwalk and right of the boardwalk and Albany Avenues. And then directly across the street is an academic building. And in fact, this Thursday, as in 2 days, we are having a play about a life story of one of our Holocaust survivors, Rosalie Simon. And Rosalie is planning to be there that evening. The play is 1 hour long. It starts at 7. It will end at around 8. And then there'll be a talk back with the actress. Oh, thank you, Irvin. That's great. There'll be a talk back with the actress, and Rosalie will be there. One can ask her questions. And she, along with her 3 sisters, survived Auschwitz-Birkenau, which is an amazing story. Thank you, Irvin. Okay, let's go back to our PowerPoint, which is another 2 minutes. So there's our main campus. We're located on the 2nd floor of our library at Stockton. And we're going to show you a little bit about what our center looks like. So this is the outside of the center, and the entrance, which kind of sets the tone for our area, are railroad tracks that are from Białystok, Poland. And over those tracks, victims of the Holocaust traveled to concentration camps, slave labor camps, and labor camps. And the exedra, the top part, has names of individuals who relate to the Holocaust. And then the middle section is about those that promoted human rights. And the last is a segue into our library. We do have 3 display cases. I don't know if we have a slide on that. Yeah, you can see there are 3 display cases. First case is dedicated to a Holocaust survivor. The middle case is dedicated to the Roma and the Sinti, the Gypsies. And the last case is dedicated to World War II veterans. And it's amazing. Every time we have a school group, students say, oh yeah, my grandfather, my great uncle, but they don't know the story. So I pass that on. That can be a project. That's something that Michael Hayes is doing now, tracing the history of our local Holocaust survivors, meaning in Atlantic, Cape May, and Cumberland counties in South Jersey. But you can do the same with your students. So now we're going to transition in just to show you our classroom. And and our classroom can seat up to 50 students. And those photographs on the wall are photographs of our local Holocaust survivors who are no longer with us. And oftentimes families come in and say, how come my grandma or grandfather are not on the wall? Well, one of 2 reasons. One is they didn't want to have their picture taken. And there are a certain number that didn't. And the other part is the walls are filled, but they're the survivors that are no longer with us. And within our classroom, we have what we call an interactive biography. That's the next slide. And that is of a Holocaust survivor, Ed Mossberg. If any of you are from the Newark area, that's where Ed was from. And well, Ed still lives in that area. He is 96 years old. And if you look at that, I don't know if we can get to that slide, Irvin, or it's not. Yeah, there we go. So if you look at Ed in action, which is impossible to do on a slide. And by the way, this is my class. Many of them are future teachers. It's called Holocaust and Genocide Education. You'll say I'm looking at a hologram. And this was developed by University of Southern California Shoah Foundation. And yes, if you think it looks familiar, it does, because it has been on 60 Minutes 4 different times. And I will mention this with Betty. It'll be part of our interview with her. But there is now an interactive biography that's dedicated to Betty Grabinchikov. Yes, she is a star. Okay, let's move on. Oh, by the way, when your students come, they will have the opportunity to meet Ed, and they'll have the opportunity to view our exhibit, which is our next slide. And this exhibit is dedicated to the extraordinary heroism of ordinary people, excuse me, the rescue of one Jewish family in the Netherlands. And once you learn about the life story of Leo Ullman, and we do have a book that we've edited, excuse me, for Leo, and that book is appropriate for 5th grade on up. We use it with our college students, university students, and we have classroom sets of that book. So if you would like to obtain the book for your class, that's great. And Leo Ullman is with us, and he will meet your class via Zoom once they've read the book, or perhaps if you bring your students, we can accommodate up to 50 students a trip. Leo will come that day. And you can see that, I don't know if you can point to it, but the window has a display on it, and that is Amsterdam. And in the front of the class, if you could go to the map that's just next, yes, that map. On that map, we have where Anne Frank was hidden, and just about 6 blocks away is where Leo Ullman was hidden. So students' eyes really light up because many of them read her story through reading her diary. Of course, they often don't know the end of her story, but that's a whole separate workshop another time. And we have Leo Ullman's artifacts on the wall, and the large screen is a PowerPoint, but it's layered. So your students can work with that on their own. Thank you, Irvin. Thank you. So that's a quick overview of our center. If you are a high school teacher, we can treat you to lunch, and your students can have a mini tour of Stockton University. So without any hesitation, I am going to introduce Betty Grabinchikov, and we do have a friend of Betty's joining us. So Irvin, when Betty's friend joins, will you let me know, and I will turn it over to her friend?
Yes.
Okay, great, no problem. Okay, it's all good. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you Betty Grabinchikov. And Betty, can you say hello just so everybody can see you? We have to get Betty unmuted.
Hi, Betty. You can unmute.
Now, we did do a test run yesterday, and we know Betty did great. So we're just going to help her to unmute. Can you manually unmute her?
No, I cannot.
Okay. And our special guest, I see, has joined us, which is great. Betty, can you unmute?
It's just the microphone on the lower left. There
There
you
you go.
Okay, am I
You're
on?
great. Okay, so this is our surprise guest, Dr. Michael Birnbaum. Michael is very much a friend of Stockton University. When we asked Betty, to join us, she said, well, I wonder if your friend is going to join us also. So quick, I secretly called Dr. Michael Birnbaum, leading historian, author, scholar of the Holocaust. And I said, would you like to interview Betty Grabinchikoff? If he could have jumped through the phone, he would have. And so, Dr. Birnbaum, you don't need a lot of sentences of introduction. And so would you say hello? And we'll make sure you're unmuted.
From a Starbucks in Hickory, North Carolina.
Oh, boy.
Finished the seminar, so I'm going to go in and out of my earphones so that you don't have to hear the music in the background. But Betty, it's good being with you, and it's wonderful being with the teachers as well. And I look forward to our conversation as always.
Okay, so here's a question. I'm getting very personal. There's no place that doesn't have noise that you can be. Is there an outdoors to that, or that wouldn't be good? Oh, okay. Michael, can you hear me? Somehow we lost Michael Birnbaum. You're muted or something.
I'm here.
Okay. All right, good. Okay, great. So we'll let you begin.
Okay, Betty, we're not going to give you an introduction because you're going to be telling us your story. I just want to remind everybody that Betty has a book out, which is quite good, Once My Name. Betty, tell us where you were born and what your background was. And if survivors divide their story into before, during, and after, tell us a little bit about your life before and your life in pre-Nazi Germany, Berlin, and in the early years of Nazi Germany.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hello, Michael. Hello, everybody. And hello, all my friends, Doug Servey and Michael Hayes. And thank you, Gail and Irvin and Bob Holden. I just want to say hello to everybody first. I was born in Berlin, Germany in 1929, which makes me probably the oldest one in the room here. And I had a very, very good childhood, early childhood with my parents and my sister in a nice apartment in the Tiergarten district of Berlin. My relatives were mostly around us. My father's family was in Czechoslovakia. And I only saw them once in my life when we went for a visit when I was about 6 or 7 years old. Unfortunately, I never saw them again because, as we all know, the Nazi terror took care of that. And they were all murdered. So we went back to Berlin after that vacation. And things to me seemed a little different than it was before. I went to a Jewish school and we had Jewish religion and Bible and all that and all the other things. And I had a very wonderful girlfriend there, that Anna Marie Barnberg, whom I was very, very friendly with. She was my best friend. As a matter of fact, she's the only one I remember from that whole school besides the teacher, who was a very nice lady. And we played together and we used to go to parks and theater for children and all different places. And I remember one time in 1936, my mother and my sister and I took a walk around the Olympic Stadium where the Olympics were going on in 1936. And I said to my mother, why can't I go inside there? And she said, we can't go in there because we're Jews. And I didn't understand that. I didn't know what she was talking about because I thought everybody else was like me. But things on the streets had changed at that point. And my parents and many other parents tried to shield their children from understanding and knowing what was going on. But eventually, of course, we figured it out by ourselves. So the result was that I was afraid to go out on the street by myself, that the children that used to be my friends, the Aryan children, threw stones at me and spit on me and tried to push me in the gutter. And I didn't understand what was going on. And I said to my mother, what did I do to them? I didn't do anything. I'm still the same person I was yesterday. And she said, shh, we have to be very careful because we're Jews. That was when I was about 7 or 8. And by the time I was, November came around, 1938, I had a suspicion that things were really getting bad because that's when Crystal Night happened. And fortunately, my family and I were at home at that evening. And I remember my parents told my sister and myself to be very, very quiet, not to say a word. We sat on the floor in the dark in our apartment and pretended we weren't home while we heard the mobs outside yelling, get the Jews, get the Jews. And we heard the glass breaking outside. I was terrified. I think that was the warning bell that really showed German Jews who always thought they were part of Germany, who were proud to be Germans because they had my father and my grandfathers all fought in the war, in the First World War. They thought they were part of the community, but that all ended definitely at during Crystal Night. And so then after it was over, fortunately we were not hurt. I walked on the street with my mother to see if my grandmother, my mother's mother and father were okay. And I can still remember the glass crunching under my feet as we were walking there. Of course, they made Jewish people come out and clean it up and pay for it and all that. And you can read that in the histories. And even today, at this great age, if I walk on broken glass on the street, there's a little bell in my head that says Crystal Night. And I still remember that. It's a fear that never, ever goes away. It's just there for a second, but it always comes back. So that's one part of my early story. Michael?
After that, let me interrupt by giving a couple of moments of history. Number one, Betty, you said you were in a Jewish school and you began your life in Berlin in a Jewish school because Jewish children were already not allowed in a German school, in a German state school.
I believe that was the reason, yes. But we were, in any case, we went to a Jewish school before things really got bad, and we always went to a Jewish school. So did my sister. And also later on, I was always in a Jewish school, all my education.
Now, when did you hear discussions of your parents as to leaving Germany?
Well, it seemed that every time I walked into the room, there was quiet. They wouldn't talk in front of my sister and myself. But as I said, we figured it out. And we realized that we had to get out because my father got a summons from the Gestapo telling him he had to appear with them on May 21st, 1939. So had he gone to that interview with the Gestapo, he would not have come out at that point. And I can assure you, I would not be here today, neither would my family. And that was the reason why we had to try and get out. But we didn't know where to go. We had nobody in other countries, and we didn't have a visa for any place. But then they were sending children out to get push us to get the children out if the parents couldn't get out. Now, we didn't have German passports. We were stateless, what they call a Fremdenpass. And my parents signed my sister and myself up for the kinder transport to England. And at the last minute, my mother said she won't let us go because she was afraid she'd never see us again. And she was absolutely right, because most of those children never ever saw their parents again. I know a couple of them that I spoke to in later years. They never got together with their parents. The parents couldn't get out, or whatever happened to them, nobody knows. So my mother was right. Even though my sister and I thought this would be so great, going to Palestine and picking oranges and singing the Hatikva and waving the flag and all that stuff. But no, it didn't happen. So my father tried to look for a place to go. And it was impossible for us to get a visa anywhere. So then he found out from many other people that Shanghai, China was an open port, that you did not need a visa to go there from Germany. If you managed to get away from Germany, if you managed to pay them off and get a ticket and get yourself out by yourself, you could go to China. So my father went to a shipping company in Berlin, a Japanese shipping company called Nippon Yusen Kaisha. I don't know if they're still around. And asked for tickets, and they kind of laughed at him, and they said, well, it'll take 6 months before you get a ticket. We didn't have 6 months because of that summons from the Gestapo. So my father went home and got some money he had saved for a rainy day, which this definitely was, and went back to the shipping company and said, please look at my papers again and see what you can do for us. So this guy looks at all this nice money in the papers, and he said, well, let's see what we can do. Next day, we had 2 cabins on the Kashima Maru, a Japanese ship, to leave on the 19th of May, 1939, from Italy. So we had to get rid of all our things as much as we could. And we sent out a whole big thing that we called a lift, where we put everything in there that we thought we would need in China. We had no idea what we were getting into. Nobody really wanted to go to China at that point because we didn't know anything about it. They had a war there with the Japanese. We didn't know anything about the climate, the language, nothing, but it was a place of refuge. And so by going to China, almost 20,000 Jewish people were saved from the Nazis. So we sent all our things out on this big lift. We never received it in Shanghai because somewhere along the line, it was commandeered by the Japanese, and we lost everything we had. But we got out with our lives. We had to go and say goodbye to my grandparents, my mother's parents in Berlin, who, as I said, they lived in Charlottenburg, and we used to live in Tiergarten district. And we said goodbye to them. They couldn't come with us at the time because my grandmother had broken her hip and she couldn't walk. So there was also another aunt of mine and an uncle who stayed with the grandparents to take care of them. And they said, well, it's not going to get so bad. The Germans are reasonable people. It can't get much worse than it is now. Because that was only the beginning in those days. But nobody knew that. Nobody understood that. And so we said, well, we'll go first and you'll come after us. The result was, of course, that I never saw them again. So we had to say goodbye to them, and I'll never forget waving to them as we went downstairs, and they were sitting by their window waving to us. And everybody's crying. My mother's crying, my aunt is crying. There was another aunt who came with us and her husband. And my sister's crying. Everybody's in shreds. And they had to carry my mother out. She didn't want to leave her parents. So we got out and we went to Italy, and we got on the ship. It looked like a pleasure. pleasure cruise. It was just a beautiful ship, small ship. And we had good cabins because of all the money that my father had bribed the Japanese with. And we went on a 4-week so-called cruise to the Orient. And I was 9 at the time. My sister was 11. And we have, my sister and I have good memories of the trip, but my mother was crying all the time and my father was very upset. They had left everything they ever knew. They had left their home, their families, also the family in Czechoslovakia. It was a totally new experience. And we, children adapted much faster than the parents did, of course.
One moment by saying the following, just to put it in a little bit of context. We all know that immigration is a push-pull phenomenon. The push from Germany was your father's summons to the Gestapo. And after that, he understood that there was no choice but to leave.
Right.
The pull was to Shanghai. The pull was anywhere. In other words, we want to get out. We want to go anywhere possible. But what was the issue? The issue is nowhere. There were nowhere for the Jews to go. And Shanghai, we have to remember at this point, was under Japanese occupation. And that's why you had to deal with Japanese shipping companies as well. Now, what happened when you got off the ship? Tell us a little bit about life in Shanghai.
There were not only a Japanese shipping line that went there, but also an Italian shipping line. And those two went. Well, we got to Shanghai and it was complete culture shock, of course. It was the middle of the summer. And as Bob Holden mentioned, it's terribly hot over there in the summer. And it's the weather is terrible in the summer and it isn't much better in the winter when it's cold and rainy and damp and everything. But we got in there and fortunately there were organizations that helped the Jewish refugees. We were then refugees, of course, that helped them get started there. Someone rented, a friend of my father's who had gotten there before us, had rented us a room for the 4 of us. And we tried to settle down over there and we had our first meal with the organization in something what they called a Heim, which means a home, but it didn't look like a home. These were organizations that had built shelters for the Jewish people and double-decker, triple-decker bunks in those rooms. It was a very bad situation. And of course, you have to remember in those days, there was no air conditioning and very little heat in the winter. So it wasn't easy. So we went to this, we lived in this room for a while until my father got a job with a Chinese company as a bookkeeper. And he didn't have much English, but he managed to get along. He was very, very careful what he did. And he managed to get along with them. And in the meantime, my sister and I had to go back to school. Now, foreign children, and there were many other foreigners there, British, French, American, German, but foreign children did not go to Chinese schools. So we all went to what was called the Shanghai Jewish Youth Association School, the SJYA in other words, and which was built by one Sir Horace Kaduri. He was a philanthropist whose family made a tremendous amount of money in Shanghai, and a Jewish family, of course. They came from Persia and from India. There were the Kaduris and the Sassoons and the Harduns that did a lot of good things with the Jewish people that came in. So we went to school, and of course, we're all little German kids, and with not too much discipline because we hadn't gone to school for 4 weeks, and we were getting a little noisy, I would say. And your teachers will realize that if you're faced with 50 screaming children who speak a different language from the teacher, it's not so easy. So here comes this teacher, a nice lady, who speaks only English and we speak only German. So what does she do? This might help you out over there if you don't have any teacher's aides. She stood there and sang songs to us. And she sang these old English songs like It's a Long Way to Tipperary and My Body Lies Over the Ocean. And then one of my favorites, someone said, is nodding their heads. I think they realize what those songs are. And my favorite was You Take the High Road and I'll take the low road and I'll get to Scotland afore ye. Lovely song. I had no idea what I was saying, but I never knew what afore ye meant. It took me years to figure that out, but I finally did. However, we all learned English very quickly because we had no choice. And then we learned to read and write. And that's how that went. Within a short period of time, we managed to do okay in school. And my mother was home. By that time, we had maybe 1 or 2 rooms. And we were getting used to the people there. And I must point out, and this is very important, that I've always pointed out to my students when I speak to them, that the Chinese people never, ever called us dirty Jews. They were welcoming to us and they accepted us. And don't forget, we lived in a very poor area called Hankyu, which is where there is now a Shanghai Jewish Refugee Museum, which is quite well known and quite a state of the art now. And the people just accepted us. They didn't throw stones at us. They didn't say, what are you doing on our turf? Because these were poorer class of people in Hankyu that lived there, simple people, working people. And they were just perfectly fine with having us there. And we felt comfortable with them. And so that's the important part that I always point out, that there were good Chinese people there. I'm talking about the people, not the government, but just the people. And the government left us alone as well, up until Pearl Harbor. And at that point, the Japanese who were living all around us, but who hadn't really interacted with us a lot, they came along. And if you had been American citizens or British or Dutch, you would have been put in a camp. It wasn't a concentration camp, but it was a camp for these people. And the conditions there were very bad, and all their assets were taken away from them, and they had to go away and live in these places. It was very difficult for them. And then they looked around and they saw about almost 20,000 Jewish refugees living in Hankyu and in better areas in Shanghai. There's some beautiful areas in Shanghai, as we all know. And they decided they have to do something with us. So the Germans sent a Colonel Meisinger over, who was with who was at that point in Japan. And he said to the Japanese, get rid of these Jews. It's easy to do. And he even brought with him a Cyclone B gas container and showed it to the Japanese and said, you can use that because it works. We're doing it in Europe and it works. So we were lucky because the Japanese didn't want to go that far. So then he said to them, well, put them on ships and punch holes in the ships and sink them all, drown them all. And again, the Japanese didn't want to go that far. Instead of that, they put us in what they called a restricted area. In reality, it was a ghetto. And we were all the people who had come in from Europe after 1937, all the Jewish people, they had to move into this, we all had to move into a small area on the Wangpu River to live there and be watched over by the Japanese, who didn't actually hurt us, but they had all kinds of demands, and we had to be very careful with them because the Japanese were very careful with us up to a point, but they were terrible to the Chinese. And here we had a situation where they were pushing the Chinese people around and hurting them on the street and beating them up and doing all that stuff. And we couldn't help them. It was just like in Germany when nobody helped us. At least not enough people helped us. And it was very difficult for us to see that. And yet we couldn't do anything because we were under watch by them as well. So in order to get out of the area, the ghetto, we had to get a special pass. And there was this little schizophrenic Japanese commander, Mr. Goya, who's been documented. And he gave out passes to people who needed to get out of the district, out of the ghetto, to go to school or to business or something. So you had to line up there for hours in the rain and in the wind and the snow, whatever it was, and you had to get this pass and say, "Please, sir, may I have a pass?" Now, this guy was just a very short little guy, maybe 4.5 feet, if that much. And he used to stand on his desk and say, "I am the king of the Jews." And if you laughed when he did that, you were in big trouble. So you kind of had to keep a straight face and just keep smiling like he was saying a good joke or something. So it was very scary. And in later years, I said to my father, "Weren't you scared when we went to Mr. Goya to get the passes?" Because my father always went with us. And he said he was terrified, but he never showed it to us. And that's what parents do. They try to protect their children, even in the worst of conditions. And this is what my father used to do while my mother was home, being very nervous for us to come back home again. So we got these passes, and eventually my sister and I transferred over to the Shanghai Jewish School on Seymour Road. And my father kept working, and my father kept trying to get the relatives out of Europe, the ones in Czechoslovakia and the ones in Berlin. Was unable to do so. And so I lost practically all of my extended family. And when you think of 6 million Jews being killed, which we found out afterwards, we didn't know at the time what was going on. You think of 6 million, that's an impossible number to think about. You know, it's mind-boggling. So I personally think about my cousin Peter, whom I loved, whom I met once when we went to Czechoslovakia to visit all the relatives, my father's parents and all his many brothers and sisters. And we met them, and there was a little cousin called Peter who was my age. He had red hair like I had in those days, and that's gone. And he had freckles like I also had, which I still have more of now. And he and I were buddies, and I wanted to take him home with me then. That was in the late 30s. And my parents said, "Oh, don't worry, we'll see them another time." Of course, that was the end of that. Now, my cousin Peter was killed in one of the camps before he managed to have his bar mitzvah. He was killed before he was 13. And later years, after I got married and had my 4 daughters, I had a son, and I named him Peter in memory of my cousin Peter, whom I lost. So I can't hear you.
Beyond Shanghai, what happened at the end of the war?
At the end of the war, well, of course, we had bombings, and we had very difficult times with the, as I said, with the Japanese. They were very nasty, and there was no medication during the war, and it was very hard. And then toward the end of the war, we had bombings by the Americans who came after the Japanese. And we always wondered, did they know that there were 20,000 Jews down here who were rooting for the Americans? Now, these were the Flying Tigers came over from General Chennault. They came over from India, and they bombed Shanghai. And of course, we had no bomb shelters. So we all went downstairs to the first floor where our landlord, also a German Jew, had a little restaurant, and he put the tables together and put mattresses on top, and we crawled underneath. Now I ask you, do you think a bomb would stop on top of a mattress, on top of a table? I don't think so. But we never asked that question. That was kind of stupid to ask. So some of us made it through all right, and others were terrified. Like my poor mother was always very scared. And it was a very difficult time. And at the last raid in June of 45, about 35 of our people got hit and died, and many Chinese. And we all had been trained to give first aid, carry buckets of water and all that stuff. And we all got into action. And then after a while after that, the war was over. And that's when we found out really what had happened in Europe to the Jewish people. There had been rumors before that, but nobody believed them because it was too outlandish to believe that they were killing people in gas chambers and things like that. Nobody really believed it, and we didn't get much news otherwise. So we had made a life in Shanghai, but it was a difficult life, but we all adapted, and by the grace of God, we got through it. And then once the Americans came in, we were.
And what happened, Betty? Tell us.
Well,
to get to the United States.
Yeah, well, it wasn't so easy. I'll do it as fast as I can. The Americans came in and liberated us, of course, and we all got out and we started working for the Americans and everything else. My sister married an American GI, and eventually went to America with him as a dependent. I got married to a Russian emigre, which I think some of you remember, Oleg Krupenchikov. And he and I got married. He was, I see Doug is smiling, he remembers him. And we got married there, and he was not Jewish, but we managed to work that out quite well. And we raised our children in both religions, but mostly in Jewish, because as the mother, I was the main one with the religion here. And so in a couple of years later, or less than a couple of years, the government in Shanghai changed, and we again had to leave. All the foreigners had to leave. And so we again had no place to go. So 11 years after landing in Shanghai, we had to find refuge somewhere else. And that again was difficult. But eventually, after many, many difficulties, which you can read in my book, we managed to get to Australia, where my husband and I stayed for 3 years. We had our first 2 children there, Jennifer and Elizabeth. And then my sister, who had managed to get my parents over to America, also got us over to America in 1953. And so we finally, we were all together, and we landed in, of all places, first in Massachusetts for a year, where my husband went to Springfield College, and then to New Jersey, because we heard they had a beach there. And so we went to New Jersey, to Atlantic City, and eventually had 2 more children, Nina and Irene, and then eventually Peter the baby, who is now 6'4". He's not a baby anymore. And so we made a good life in New Jersey. And I just want you to know, I want all the teachers particularly to know, when they talk to their children and to their students or any of their audiences, don't ever take freedom for granted. Don't take your American passport for granted. I got mine when I was in 1958, when Peter was born. And whenever I traveled, that was the most important thing I had, was to have an American passport, to be a part of somebody. because being a refugee is no fun. I can attest to that. Being a refugee makes everything very difficult because you don't belong anywhere and you have no base. No one will help you when you get into trouble. And I've been there many years, and I know what it's like to get in trouble in a strange country and not have help. Although fortunately, we managed to get through it.
Betty, you told us about Anne Marie. Now let's push forward.
Okay,
About
Anne
the
Marie.
extraordinary happening with Anne Marie, who was your childhood best friend.
My childhood best friend, Anna Marie Warnberg from Germany, from Berlin, who was sitting next to me for 3 years in the school in Berlin. She and I had a tearful farewell. Both our fathers brought us to the schoolyard to say goodbye to each other when we had tickets to go to Shanghai. They did not yet have any avenue out at that point, Anna Marie and her family. So we didn't want to part, and we clung to each other and we cried and we said, well, we'll get together someday again. And I wrote her a letter from Shanghai. I don't know if she ever got it. And she says she wrote to me, but I never heard from her. We never heard from each other for 81 years, okay? Next chapter starts with the Shoah Foundation. A lady called Ita Gordon, who might be familiar with, I know with Michael. And she somehow managed to tune into a program from Santiago, Chile, where some lady over there was talking about her childhood in Berlin. And she thought she saw something familiar in that story. So she went back to her research papers and everything, and she looked up all kinds of different things and found out by some real miracle that this Anna Marie was my friend. And she found it out because I had always mentioned Anna Marie's name in my talks. Plus I gave testimony to the Shoah Foundation in 1997. And I mentioned Anna Marie's name, and I said, if anyone ever hears from her, let me know, which is what I always did in my talks. Well, this wonderful lady, Ita Gordon, she put it together somehow, and she couldn't believe what she had. And eventually she managed to get us together, she and all the people at the Shoah and at the different museums that helped us, the museum in New Jersey and in Santiago and in St. Petersburg, Florida, where I live now. They got us together on Zoom. And here, 82 years later, we are two, well, senior citizens at least, you know. And we got together and we couldn't stop talking. And all the families were on it. It was a miracle. For me, it was the culmination of a dream. It was the end of the rainbow. We made the national and the international news. It was incredible that we had this reunion. And then a while later, as a matter of fact, last November, she came over to America, to Florida, and we had our real reunion together, just the two of us. And it was like we had never been apart. We had an instant rapport, an instant recognition, and we now speak to each other every Sunday at 10 o'clock. My family knows not to call me at that point because we talk to each other. And what language do we speak? Well, she now speaks perfect Spanish, of course. She also speaks German and some English, but she's more comfortable with German. So I dusted up my German language, and we speak in German, and I'm getting my language back as well. It is wonderful, wonderful. It is an unbelievable blessing.
Teachers that they can ask and participate, and we will ask those questions. But we do have one question. Can you speak of your experience with anti-Semitism after you left Shanghai? And did you experience anti-Semitism in Australia and in the United States?
Of course, anti-Semitism in Germany was rampant, as we all know, and look what happened to it. In Shanghai, there was no anti-Semitism towards Jews. No, I didn't feel any of that. Or in Australia, they were a little wary of us, but we were foreigners. Not so much that we were Jewish, but we were foreigners, and we were refugees. And when you're a refugee, especially any refugee, you always feel like you're the other. You don't quite belong, and that's a very strong feeling. In America, I have found very little really directed at me. First of all, nobody knows that I'm Jewish with a name like Grabenchikov, which is a Russian name, and that's not very popular today either. But I didn't feel too much of that, but I was always involved with Jewish organizations and the Holocaust museums, and also the one in Washington, D.C., where I went for book signing every year. I didn't feel any overt anti-Semitism, although some people might look at me sideways, but that's too bad for them. I figure that has nothing to do with me. I am a Jew. I will always be a Jew.
About how you feel about the refugee situation at this moment when you're seeing all these refugees fleeing the Ukraine.
I sympathize with the refugees very, very much. I try to help them as much as I can. And I must say to the teachers and anyone who's listening that you do a kind deed every day for somebody, particularly people who need it so badly, the refugees, that you do something good for them, and hopefully other people will pick it up and they'll do good for other people. Anti-Semitism and racial injustice and intolerance of any sort is something we all have to be aware of, and we all have to fight against, and we all have to be upstanders, not bystanders. And what I also tell the children always is that they have a choice, that they can say something. It's not like when I grew up where I wasn't allowed to say anything because I was Jewish. You have to speak up and say something if someone bullies you or someone pushes you around or anything like that. You have to come out and say something to your teachers or your significant other people, and or the police or anyone.
I'm in schools speaking to students. How do students respond to your story?
I find that when I speak to fifth graders, they're very young, they're wide open, they will ask any kind of question they want. They are receptive, and my book is suitable for fifth grades on up, all the way up to adults. And that's my favorite group. And I always tell the people at the museums, give me a fifth grade and I'll get to them. I can get through to some of them. For instance, there's one little story that years ago I gave a talk at the Absecon school where my husband was a teacher for many years. And I talked about Anna Marie like I always did, and that I had never found her in those days. And so one little girl stood up and she said, don't worry if you don't find your Anna Marie. When you go to heaven, you will find her there. Now, that is the most sensitive thing I've ever heard from a young child like that. I've never forgotten it, and I always talk about it. And then there was the man who welcomed us at the airport in America when we first came here in 1953. My husband and myself and two babies, my two oldest children, and a stranger comes up to us in the airport. It's August in New York in the airport, you know, it's very hot. And he comes up and he says, are you newcomers here? Are you immigrants? And we said, yes, we want to make this our country. And he goes off and buys 4 bottles of Coke and hands them to us. Of course, we had no money, the usual story of immigrants. And he says, welcome to America. And he gave us each a Coke. Now, my kids are just babies. We all drank the Coke because it was such a nice gesture. Now, mind you, I don't even like Coke, but we all drank it and we all said, thank you so much. And I have never forgotten it. And it's the kind of thing that stays with you forever. This man didn't know our names. We didn't know who he was. I never saw him again. This is what I mean by a kind deed. You don't have to buy Cokes for people, but you can just do whatever you can to make other people feel better.
And I want to add a story that we just told Betty in the spring, because I was as surprised as she was. I was a graduation speaker at a local high school, and I said, okay, I will do it. But I want to bring a Holocaust survivor with me, because I'm sure she will have a powerful message to your graduating seniors. And so we did it. We did it together, Gail and Betty. And after the graduation, one of the graduates came up crying to Betty. And first of all, he was so embarrassed that he was crying among his peers. And he said, Betty, you partially told my story. I'm a refugee, but I can't go to college.
Mm-hmm.
And we confirmed everything he told us. He was in the top of his class. And I want to give recognition to Atlantic County residents and some of our lawmakers here. And today he has his PhD and his law degree, and he's teaching in Washington, D.C. And he sent us an unbelievable letter about just in the spring, like 4 months ago, telling us about all of his accomplishments. And he thanked Betty for being his motivator, because she said, if I can do it as a refugee, you can all do it also, never knowing that she was touching someone. And that's just my lead in also to say that Betty is available by Zoom to speak to your students. And here's another case. Of course, Irvin and Matt keep a record of how many times I'm wrong. It's frequent every week. I was wrong. I said Zoom will never work with Holocaust survivors. The impact will not be the same. We'll just have to stop doing it. I'm so sorry. This is another negative from COVID, but it's not true. The impact is the same. It is amazing. Just like Dr. Birnbaum, your questions, the impact today. Stanley, your PowerPoint and your discussion. Bob, you all were powerful today, and you've made a difference to all of our teachers. And so, call our center at Stockton. Irvin will put the phone number again in the chat, but we will help once your students are prepared for Betty, for your students to meet Betty. They will have read her book, because we have classroom sets of the book available. They'll be able to meet her. There's only one negative I can tell you. Do not schedule her in the morning, because she swims laps every morning in her apartment pool. So
Okay.
you don't mess with her morning swim. But other than that, Betty is available. And so Stanley, because you're still on, Dr. Birnbaum, you're still on. I think, Doug, are you still with us? Yes, Doug is
Yes, I'm here,
with
Gail.
us. And Steve Marcus. I'll let all of you be concluders. And I just want to thank everyone. I am thrilled that you all joined us today. We had over 40 participants. We look forward to tomorrow and Thursday. Please join us live from Jerusalem. Thank you so much. Please feel free to call us with any problems, questions, concerns, how we can help you. And please do our evaluations. So I'm just going by who's on my screen, and we will start with concluding with, here we go, Bob Holden.
You're muted, Bob. Sorry about that. It's been an honor to be here and participate in this seminar today. I hope everyone enjoys my book and Betty's book, and because Betty's book is just wonderful. It's a classic. That's really all I have to say. I just hope that educators are able to broaden their knowledge and scope so that they can bring the best to their students. Thanks.
Thank you. Steve, you are next on my screen.
Let me tell you, this is one heck of a way to start off what's going to be the great conference for the 5th time. I want to thank everybody. It's so nice to see old friends, and it's even better to meet new friends. Call me, text me, or email me if you need me.
Our New Jersey Executive Director of our New Jersey Commission on Holocaust Education, Doug Servey.
Oh, thank you very much. It was such a pleasure to be here. Betty, you look awesome. You know, it's so good to see you. Stanley, it's great to see you again. Dr. Birnbaum, everybody have a wonderful day. Can't wait till tomorrow. These programs are just amazing. Take everything you can. If you need anything, like I said, from the commission, feel free to contact us at any time. Be well.
Betty?
Well, it's been my pleasure, as usual, to be together with you, Gail, in one of your presentations, and Irvin, and all these wonderful people here, Doug and Bob Holden with his compliments for my book. Thank you, and the same to you, Bob, and Michael Hayes, and it was just wonderful. And anything I can do, anybody who wants to get in touch with me, you can get in touch with Gail anytime. And she and I are old friends. She's the one who got me to speak at my first talk at Pleasantville High School, where I was terrified. I had never spoken before. I had my book in front of me and I started to read from the book, and I could see that was not going to work. They were all falling asleep. And so I put the book away, and ever since then, I've been speaking off the cuff, and hopefully I didn't forget anything. But if I did, you don't know what that is, do you? So it's okay. It's fine. I'm just happy to be here and happy to be in as good a shape as I can be to talk to you every time you want to.
So
Thank you.
every time we swim laps, we'll think of you. Stanley.
Thank
I'm
you.
not very good at it. I'm not very good at it.
Thank you, Gail, Irvin, Matthew, and for organizing the program. Today was absolutely extraordinary. Betty, I have never met you. It was an honor and truly a privilege to listen to you and your story. And when we meet someone like Betty, you then realize that which was lost. And Betty is a true representative of the survivor community. Her story is different. She should be cherished and honored. And I thank you very much. Michael Berenbaum, it is so good to see you again. And to the teachers, thank you for giving up a morning and for being with us. And at the Jewish Foundation for the Righteous, if we can be of assistance, please reach out to us. We are here for you. And again, thank you, Gail, Irvin, and Matthew.
And Dr. Birnbaum, you are one of the best concluders that I know. You are muted. Still muted.
Very deeply how much they have to take advantage of the opportunity, because we are at a transitional moment between lived history and historical memory. And our students will be the last to live in the presence of survivors. And we have to understand the power of that testimony. And for that, we're profoundly grateful to you, Betty, and deeply appreciative of it. And deeply appreciative also that you've given us your words, your testimony. And I have to say that I with Ita Gordon all the time. And she's done many, many wonderful things. But the idea that she was able to reunite you with your childhood friend and bring two women now in their 10th decade together after many, many years of not seeing each other is really one of the great achievements. And each time I hear your story, Betty, the next call I always make is to say thank you. That's what diligence and what research and what compassion and what love can do. So thank you very much. And
Thank you all. A big wave. If everybody could do a wave. Hopefully we'll see many of you tomorrow and or Thursday. And I will echo Stanley's comment. Thank you for giving up your morning. We are most appreciative. Have a great day. Thank you all. Do the evaluations, please. Bye.
Bye.